Australian Superbike Championship, a national series that was inaugurated in 1989 and has been won by many of the sport's all-time greats. Names such as Aaron Slight, Troy Corser and Sean Giles, to name just three, became household names due to their exploits in this championship. 2015 sees the dawn of a new season, but most importantly, a new era, as the championship comes under the control of the sport's peak body, Motorcycling Australia. Today, you'll have a Category 1 seat as the opening round of the Australian Superbike Championship is contested at Phillip Island in Victoria, one of the world's great circuits. You'll also see wheel-to-wheel action from Supersport, plus there's feature stories on some of the sport's emerging stars. We catch up with some all-time greats and provide an insight into the technical aspects of motorcycle racing's cutting-edge technology. On Fox Sports, welcome to the 2015 Australian Superbike Championship. Our coverage supported by Motorcycling Australia, Motul and Pirelli.
Good to have your company on Fox Sports around Australia, and welcome to our exclusive coverage at Phillip Island, the opening round of the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship. Weather conditions here on the island pretty good. It is a very special place, and on today's program, some fantastic racing coming your way. A quick check of the champions since this title was inaugurated back in 1989. The first winner, Mal Campbell, able to in fact put a couple of consecutive victories together. The Honda rider very dominant during the early stages. As you can see on screen, some very famous names there, including the 1999 champion Steve Martin, whom you'll hear from in just a moment. Sean Giles, a great rider. Stouffer had his time in the sun, followed up by a victory with Glenn Allerton on the Honda in 2008. And over the page now, you'll see that Glenn Allerton is, of course, the defending champion, winning that in 2014. And in fact, that was his second championship victory. Okay, the action will be underway here at Phillip Island shortly. I will be joined in commentary by former World Endurance Champion Steve Martin. And speaking of Steve, a little earlier today, he spoke with Braxton Lane, Motorcycling Australia's president.
Braxton, MA are behind this in a big way now this year. You're supporting it well. Tell me why you're supporting it. I guess it's to launch younger kids out onto the international scene.
Exactly right, Steve. I think our history is such that we set back into the 80s and you said all the champions that we've had. So it's the opportunity of providing a platform for these kids to move through the ranks, then make the decision, can I go international? We want another Australian champion, we want another world champion.
Steve Martin talking with Braxton Lane. Here's the calendar for 2015. Round 2 is at Morgan Park in Queensland, April 10 to 12. Then racing at Barbagallo Raceway, Symmons Plains, and of course culminating at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit here in Victoria, the first weekend of October. On today's program, it's Superbikes and Supersport. And we look forward with no little expectation to bringing you the action that features some of Australia's best riders. Of course, Phillip Island, it goes without saying, one of the world's truly great racing circuits. Many people would in fact suggest it is the best motorcycle circuit in the world. The first actual motor race at the island was back in 1928. The circuit length is 4.45 kilometres with 12 turns.
You're watching the Australian Superbike Championships
on Fox Sports.
One man that cut his teeth in this championship, of course, the Asbk Championship, is none other than Troy Corser. Troy, you're with us here today at Phillip Island, of course. What are your memories of racing in that championship, and how did it help you?
Yeah, mate, it was actually my stepping stone into my career, for sure. You know, I come from dirt bikes, and my opportunity was to enter into a 250 production championship, which was like our entry level, and yeah, to travel around Australia pretty much instead of just going club racing at Oran Park, Emeroo Park and stuff. to effectively travel around Australia and Tasmania and places like that. It was a fantastic experience as a young kid to gain that experience.
Your big break probably came in this championship as well. I mean, what would you say was the break that launched you into your international career to such success?
I think the support actually that I got from the sponsors and the fans over here for sure. I went through quite quickly, got to the front quite quick, and I had the same sponsors and support for a long, long time. So I think obviously going to different states in Australia, you get different people's interests, and it's almost like a mini world championship for a young kid, I guess, in a way, travelling around Australia, because it's nearly as big as Europe, isn't it? So, but no, it's great, and had the opportunity to step up through the classes, work with all the top teams. Obviously, my Superbike years over here with the Honda was my best memories, but to be honest, all the memories were great here racing in Australia.
In the championship now, we've got Moto3, we've got Supersport and Superbike. Any advice that you would pass on to these young kids?
I actually think what we're missing is like a 250 production class, like a real beginner's intern into riding. So 600s these days have got more horsepower than our Superbike did when me and you were racing. So it makes them probably try to learn too quick. But like I say, small bikes, learning how to do that, ride safe, and I think as you step on, it'll increase for you.
Yes, my commentary colleague Steve Martin talking with the great Troy Corser. Of course, tyres will play an integral role in the outcome here this weekend. Here's more.
Well, Dunlop's a name that's been synonymous with Australian superbike racing for more than a quarter of a century. It must be a privilege to work for such a prestigious company.
Oh, absolutely. I've been with Dunlop for probably more than a quarter of a century, and I'm been very involved with the racing side of things for most of that time. So yeah, it's pretty exciting to be involved with the racing. It's in my blood now.
We're at the opening round of the Australian Superbike Championship. This year, the all-new series, there are 5 tyre manufacturers supplying homologated tyres. Just tell us a little bit about the tyre that Dunlop has put forward to MA for the series.
Well, we've got a selection of tyres available for the series. Of course, for Phillip Island, we need special tyres, like a harder, more durable tyre to cope with the challenges of this circuit. And for the 600 class, well, we have just used normal tyres that we use at other circuits, like in a choice of compounds. And Moto3, we also have a couple of compounds there, but we're lucky with Moto3 we can use tyres at Phillip Island and other circuits as well.
How difficult is it to produce a tyre for this circuit where the superbikes are doing well over 300 k's an hour?
It's always a challenge. It's always a challenge. The tyres get a lot of heat in them here, especially on the left-hand side of the tyre. Turn 11 and turn 12 generates so much heat in the tyres on the superbikes, and even the 600s. You know, on superbikes we've seen temperatures reach 200°C on the left-hand side of the tyre, so that does create a lot of overheat. So you've got to have a very hard, durable compound, and obviously you compromise grip when you go hard like that. So we take every precaution we can to try and keep the temperatures down, and to the point of putting nitrogen in the rear tyres, and that creates a little bit more stability with the temperature.
Ian Salvestrin working with us in the pits this weekend. Bikes now entering the circuit in good weather conditions for the opening Superbike race of 2015. We caught up with the pole sitter.
A great way to start the weekend for Team Honda's Jamie Stouffer, pole position with a time of 1 minute 33 dead. Jamie, a fantastic way to start the weekend.
Yeah, it's a great start to the weekend, pole position for both races, and you know, everyone's close out there. You know, it's going to be a tough race, always at Phillip Island. There's, you know, getting towards the end of the race, the tyres, you know, start to move around a lot, so we'll get out there and see what we can do, and hopefully be in front at the end of the race.
Well, it's a Team Honda 1-2 in qualifying with your teammate Troy Herfoss on the front row of the grid beside you. It is looking good for the red machine. Yeah, that's right. We've got a great team, got great people working on the bikes, and the CBR 1000 SP is a great machine. So with good riders and good equipment like that, you're always going to have a pretty good chance of winning.
Ian catching up with Jamie Stouffer earlier, and they are his thoughts, the man to start on pole on the Honda CBR. And with me at commentary, former World Endurance Champion Steve Martin. Good to see you. Terrific atmosphere here at the island.
Oh, it's an absolute fantastic day here. I mean, look at the weather. You mentioned it earlier, but you just don't get
better conditions than what we're seeing out there for these guys. And I'll tell you what, the nerves are high at the moment. The boys have had a lot of time off over the Christmas break, and they're really looking forward to get out there and you know, get the racing underway just to see where they're really at.
Indeed, you're looking at the grid, and the first row to be occupied by Stauffer, Herfoss, Condon and Hook. We roll over the page. Phil Lovett there starting out of position 11 on bike 19, the Kawasaki. The veteran just loves his motorcycle racing. And it's a stacked grid, in fact, for this opening race. There are 34 riders in total. All of the major manufacturers are represented. What is it, as a former rider, that makes the island so special?
It's just the nature of the circuit. It's not one of those circuits that is made up by a designer. It was just mowed into a field back in 1928 or whenever it was by a bunch of guys, and the corners just come together beautifully. So it's that, it's the high speed, it's the way that the track is cared for. And I'll tell you what, down here, it's fantastic because you've got cows just around the corner, and it's a great family atmosphere.
Love it here. So a start imminent, the opening Superbike race of the year, presented by Yamaha, over a 12-lap journey. Stauffer, right-hand side of screen. A start imminent, they're underway, and it's blast off for 2015. Stauffer got a good start. Herfoss also away quickly, and Sean Condon on the Kawasaki is not far away as they approach the first corner.
Good to see Herfoss, though. Herfoss, who's had a year off back with Team Honda. He's got the whole shot there out in front, but it looks like 3 Honda boys, but Condon's just gone up the inside in the southern loop there. That was a good move by him. Remember, first time out in the track this year for these boys. They've got to warm these tyres up. They're extra hard tyres at this long circuit. Let's hope they get some heat into these tyres quick.
On board the JT Racing Caterpillar Yamaha of Daniel Falzon, the reigning Australian Supersport champion, in fact. They're very tightly packed up front. You're looking at the battle there between Hook and Condon, disputing positions for third and fourth. Race leader Troy Herfoss up front, also a former Australian Supersport champion, and he's being hounded by Jamie Stauffer.
Yeah, he's got the old dog behind him there, Stauffer, and he doesn't miss a trick, straight through. That is not easy to do on the first lap, but he's been on fire all weekend as the number 27.
Herfoss won't cop that sweetly. He'll come surging back as soon as an opportunity presents, and a great move there by Condon, who carried great speed through the left-hander and has almost got on equal terms with the leading duo. Oh, a big moment, and Condon has gone down.
That was huge. Look at him, he's holding his wrist. I hope that doesn't mean that he's hurt. You know, he's hurt that wrist, but his bike's in the middle of the field there. This could bring out a red flag. I'm not sure. Let's hope the marshals can get there. Everybody's missed it, but now we're back with the leaders.
A big slide, traction braking the back end of the bike, and over the top he went. Meanwhile, we focus up front. What about this? Herfoss up on the inside of Jamie Stauffer. They're side by side. Oh, and Stauffer runs off the circuit. It is all happening here, unbridled chaos.
That is not what you want to do. Look at him coming out. He's managed to slow the bike down, but he's dropped way back in the pack now, and that's allowed him to cool his tyres down. He's got dirt on those tyres as well. There's a replay of the overtake manoeuvre, and Condon just gets on the gas that little bit too hard on the right-hand side of the corner of the tyre. Here at Phillip Island, there's a lot of lefts, not many rights. He's just paid the price for not warming that tyre up.
Wow, so Condon, let's hope he's okay. We now have a look at officials removing the bike from the circuit. The crash crew, accident crew here at Phillip Island, one of the best in the world, and understandably officials having no choice really other than to red flag the opening race of the 2015 season where it was all happening. A replay, your comments?
Yeah, unbelievable. Great start there by the number 17. He got into turn 1, and Stauffer was behind him. Hooky there in the background too, but Condon, who didn't warm his tyres up, look at him flying through. He managed to get past the Honda boys into Southern Loop here and past Hook. But then it was on for Young and Gold up front with Herfoss and Stauffer. But as we saw later on, I mean, look at that up the inside. Once again, there's that high side. He didn't let that tyre warm up and paid the price. That brought out the red flag. But then up the inside goes Herfoss, and Jamie had to sit it up on the entrance to turn 1, tries to go run the outside, but runs out of track. And I'll tell you what, that red flag has saved his day because he's going to get another bite at the cherry.
Meanwhile, Steve, another incident involving Paul Simonson, the Victorian, on the Aprilia RSV4. He's thrown it on the road too. So an extraordinary way that the 2015 Australian Motor Finance Superbike Championship has begun.
Yeah, these boys are playing for keeps, as we can see.
So our highlights continue. We now come back for the recommencement of racing, lap 1 of 12, and back underway with Stauffer up front, getting away to a good start. Will we see a carbon copy this time with the race restart as Troy Herfoss comes up on the inside? He's passed by his teammate, though, Josh Hook. Bike number 16 into second place.
Yeah, so Hookie with a better start this time round, and of course Condon won't be in this one, but Herfoss is already through up into second. But look at Stauffer, he had the pole here. He was the only man that did a 33 flat in qualifying, and he's already putting a bit of a gap between these guys. So whatever he did in that short break that we had between the first start and this one, he's certainly making the most of it.
On board now with Daniel Falzon, the reigning Australian Supersport champion, stepping up to Superbikes this season. We'll have a detailed feature story on him later on today's program as the action continues up front with Jamie Stauffer. He's a very experienced rider and also knows his way around the bikes mechanically speaking. He's a partner in a very successful motorcycle engine conditioning shop in the New South Wales Hunter Valley.
Look, him and his brother have been around motorcycles and motorcycle racing for a long... Oh, look at that! Oh, that is huge! He's had a big off.
Stauffer, just as we talk about him, has thrown it down, and that is nasty. That is bigger than the crash we saw involving Sean Condon.
Yeah, let's just hope that he's okay. At this stage, the race is continuing, and that's given Troy Herfoss a bit of a gap out front. So luckily for Troy, he got through that, didn't get caught up in Stauffer's crash. Stauffer, once again, not letting those tyres warm up, and just got on the gas a little bit too much, lean angle. But there he is. He's down. Doesn't look like he's in the best of conditions there at the moment. Here's a replay. On the gas, just steps out sideways. Of course, this Honda is one of the bikes that doesn't have traction control, so it's all with the right fist. He's just launched himself over the top, and having crashed there myself, David, I tell you what, that is not what you want to do in the first lap.
All replays on the program presented by Suzuki. We thank Suzuki for its support of the championship in 2015. Hope that Jamie Stauffer is okay. That was a massive get-off. Action-packed start to the Superbike Championship. Herfoss, Machine 17 the leader. Josh Hookie's teammate in second position as the action continues. Lap 2 of 12. We're going to see another red flag here. Another red flag. Well, this is almost unprecedented. The race halted, but understandably, the crash crew's on the scene, tending to Jamie Stauffer. And the news from the scene is that he has a suspected broken leg. Information being passed through us here in the commentary box. Another look at the restart of this race.
Yeah, I mean, Stauffer got a brilliant start. He didn't have any problems with Herfoss. Hook went round the outside there. The three-team Honda boys, of course, Sean Condon not in this one, so the three-team Honda boys had it all to themselves at the moment. The other thing I noticed there is Sloane Frost in fourth place in the background there, but there's that big moment where he goes over the top. You can see that he's hit with a lot of impact there. The visors come flying off, and yeah, you can just see there he grabbed his hip on the way down, landed bang on that hip. So that is not good news for Stauffer. Let's hope that you know, he can come back from that and you know, get back out next time.
Indeed, it's a tough sport, it goes without saying. Whilst we have this red flag situation, we'll present a feature story, Robbie, Phyllis and his son Alex. Six times Australian Superbike champion Robbie Phyllis is a household name in motorcycling after a long and distinguished career that saw him race professionally until age 42. He had 108 starts in the Superbike World Championship between 1988 and 1996, amassing 4 wins, 27 podiums and 3 pole positions. Now, Robbie is focusing on his son Alex, who at Phillip Island during the recent World Supersport round was given a dream shot as a wild card.
Actually, it was quite incredible because we'd entered a last-minute entry, like to do the Australian 600 Supersport Championship with Al, because we sort of didn't know what we were going to do this year. Things are pretty tough. And then Fergus Cameron from the circuit here, the boss of the circuit, and him and a few of his staff got together, and they needed a replacement for Team Larini, and Alex was their first choice, and it was just unbelievable that this could happen. And then I got the phone call from Peter Doyle, who used to be my boss, and when I was doing the World Championship. He now works for Motorcycling Australia. I'm driving off to get these parts for Alex's bike for this weekend, and he said, guess what? Alex has got a ride in the 600 World Championship, mate. I started to wet up straight away. Like, I'm driving down the freeway with this big tear coming out of my eye, thinking about my son, you know, like how grouse this was, you know, that was just awesome.
Robbie, who is affectionately known as Mr. Superbike, started his career on dirt prior to making the transition to road racing.
I started in '74. I'm getting on a bit now. And I rode for Mick Hone Motorcycles in Box Hill here for 6 years here in Melbourne, and we won about 7 or 8 titles. They weren't exactly Australian Road Race Championship titles then. I think the total's about 17 or something like that. But and then I went to Kawasaki Australia via the factory, and then become the factory rider to do the World Championship. So, you know, I've had a pretty good innings. I'm still out there. They still get me to go and do a few classic races. I've got my mate at home, Roger Arnold. He's owns a big fruit company in Wodonga, and he buys all my bikes for me and sends me off around the countryside. He comes and rides with me. It's really good fun, you know, like I'm still living the dream. I'm nearly 60 years old and still competitive and having fun, you know. Now my son is out there, and I'm sort of half living my racing through him these days.
Robbie doesn't try to sugarcoat reality. His son Alex is his priority, and the 21-year-old has an opportunity to ride full-time in the Italian Championship. But there's one vital ingredient missing.
This year, it's difficult. This year is a bit of a make or break thing, so we really need help, you know, like financially. But this team wants him to go and ride in the Italian Championship this year. So we've got to find the funds to do it. But, you know, like, it's a good deal. They're a good team. They're an unbelievable team. Like, he just had the fastest trap speed just before, 282 kilometres an hour. You know, like, that's got to say a lot.
Meantime, Alex is still pinching himself that an opportunity to ride as a wild card in the World Supersport Championship at Phillip Island came out of the blue.
Hey, I was on a holiday, and yeah, it was almost coming to an end actually. I was due to fly out the next day, but I was walking through the middle of Tokyo, you know, almost lost. Pretty sure I was looking at maps on my phone when the text message appeared, but yeah, it was crazy, you know. I was like a scattered man overseas. I didn't know what to think about. I didn't even think I made it home for a couple of hours trying to think about 2 different things at once.
Alex says he's planning on contesting the second round of the Australian Supersport Championship at Morgan Park in Queensland on April 11 to 12.
Yeah, for sure. You know, that was the goal. We sort of tried to throw a bike together in the last 2 weeks because I've had nothing from September last year up until now, and we didn't know if there's anything coming or what, but we wanted to stay on the bike, and that was really our goal. We just had a bike at home that wasn't up to spec, so yeah, last minute we were trying to throw it together and then ended up getting this call. But, you know, it wouldn't have happened if we didn't try to get this bike together for the championship, more or less.
Alex, who's already had significant experience racing overseas, says it's incredible how different the sport varies from country to country and class to class.
Well, to be honest, everywhere you go, it's a lot different. You know, championships change everywhere. Obviously, the British Championship and the German, also Italian and Spanish Championship is where I've sort of been around the last few years, and I've seen a little bit of it. And, you know, the professionalism is of a very high standard, you know. Hopefully Australia can get back to that point.
You're watching the opening round of the 2015 Australian Superbike Championship from Phillip Island. Our coverage presented by Motorcycling Australia in association with Motul and Pirelli.
Good to have your company. You're watching the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship. And remember, you can start enjoying your Yamaha sooner with Yamaha Motor Finance. David Tapp with you at the island along with Steve Martin. We've seen a chaotic start to the season with 2 red flag scenarios, and as a result the opening to the program punctuated today. During the break we caught up with a couple of riders and got their thoughts on things, starting with Lyndon McGee.
Here with Lyndon McGee, the number 38 BMW in the Superbike class. Lyndon, a hectic opening lap, not once but twice. What did you make of it?
Yeah, the first one I kind of got tangled up out of MG. I was on the outside of someone, and when Sean Condon high side, I ended up on the grass. So I was back in about 15th or 16th place. So I was actually pretty happy to see the red flag the first time. But yeah, the second one, I mean, I got a good start and was in 4th place behind the 3 Honda guys and pretty close. And yeah, Jamie had a massive high side over Lukey, and yeah, it looked pretty scary. But no, yeah, it's a shame that so many guys went down. The race is declared, but you know, we had a good feeling with the bike. Then we changed a few things from this morning and had, you know, a fair amount of grip for how hot and greasy the track is.
Yes, it's interesting there that Lyndon alludes to the fact that the hotter it gets here at Phillip Island, the less grip that's available. I'll speak to Steve Martin about that in just a moment. Jamie Stauffer, in the interim, is being transported to hospital. We wish him well. Let's go back to Ian in the pits with more.
We are here with SA Kawasaki BC performance rider Evan Biles. Evan, that was an amazing opening lap, not once but twice.
Yeah, it's good to get a practice run sometimes, isn't it? But both times it was people everywhere. It was people on bikes, people off of bikes, people sliding across track. Round turn 1, we had a person infield about to come in and rejoin, a T-bone me into turn 2. While that was happening, someone else fell off in turn 2, was rolling across the track. I could hear his helmet bouncing, and I went round the outside of him, nearly took out through the grass on the outside of the track, managed to get back on it. Thought, hell, I've lost a lot of speed here. I'm still in the 3rd gear. I'll chuck a gear down so I don't lose too many places. Chucked a gear down, never do that again because I nearly high-sided myself. Got back on it. Everything was in control, everything's still there, body parts intact, and got back on it, got around, and we got a red flag. But a lot of people on the ground first lap, the first time round, and then, yeah, I think it was Jamie Stauffer in the second rerun, and ugly.
Yeah, indeed. It's been a spectacular start, all right. And all the bikes naturally back in the pit garages. Have you ever seen the start to a season quite like this, Steve?
Well, I mean, you never know what to expect at Phillip Island. It is one of those, you know, tracks where that can sort of happen. But, you know, the nerves are gone now. The boys have got that out of the way. They've seen what can happen.
Here's Daniel Falzon looking at the onboard vision of that accident on his own bike. Let's see if we can have a listen here.
Oh, I was so close to hitting his bike then. His visor came off right in front of me to the left, his bike was on the right.
Yeah, he was in a better spot than us, wasn't he, to pick that.
All right, now officials rescheduling the race. Unfortunately, time constraints not allowing us to bring you the action because of the time taken up with the ill-fated first attempt at staging the event. We can tell you that Josh Hook took it out in advance of Troy Herfoss and Mike Jones. As we scroll over the page, of course, comprehensive coverage of Superbike Race 2 coming up later on today's program. We also have 2 Supersport races for you, one of the most competitive formulas in world motorcycle racing, as we scroll over the list and bring you up to date with what transpired in that rescheduled event. And Ian spoke to the winner.
Josh, a fantastic way to start the year.
Yeah, it was unreal, you know. Massive thanks to Team On Racing. They've been putting the hard yards in for the last couple of weeks and all year, really. And we've been struggling a bit, to be honest with you. But, you know, it's good to come away with a win. Troy there was giving me the hurry up all race, so the pressure was on. But I had to just make sure on those last few laps I held the line so he couldn't stick up the inside, which just blocked the line a little bit. So that was good. And, you know, I'm just super stoked to come away with a win.
Yeah, well done to Josh Hook. And there are the top 3 on screen at Phillip Island after Superbike Race 1.
G'day, I'm Troy Corser, and you're watching the Australian Superbike Championships on Fox Sports.
You're watching the opening round of the 2015 Australian Superbike Championship from Phillip Island. Our coverage presented by Motorcycling Australia in association with Motul and Pirelli.
Thanks for joining us on Australia's sports leader, Fox Sports. Welcome back to Phillip Island as our coverage of the opening round of the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship continues with the assistance of Motorcycling Australia, Motul and Pirelli. A quick look at the Motorcycling Australia event diary. We'll do this on every program this season, and we focus on April. And a reminder that the second round of this championship comes your way at Morgan Park in Queensland on April 10 to 12. A lot happening in motocross, the Australian Speedway Sidecar Championship, and over the page, the Classic Motocross Championship and the Australian Off-Road Championship. For further details, check out the details on screen. Don't forget about this event later in the year.
So it's been 3 or 4 days here that's been very good. I feel it's coming more and more together now. We've been out looking for the dirt a couple of days, backwards and forwards. We have another test tomorrow. So it seems like we got a good race surface finally. They keep saying that they're going to make it the greatest Grand Prix in the world. It's going to be down here, so let's see what they do, and that's good.
We know Speedway is fast, it's exciting, it's colourful. It's an incredible sport to watch live, and what's going to make it is atmosphere. We've got people coming from New Zealand, Hong Kong, Singapore, as well as Europe. We've got a roof that closes, just like in Cardiff. We'll have a very passionate crowd, a knowledgeable crowd, and I think we're just going to have the most fitting finale to the 2015 season that's imaginable.
Obviously with the Australians on home ground, which they've never done for a World Championship. So I look forward to that, and I think it'll be very exciting.
Thanks for being with us on Fox Sports. And the first Australian Supersport Championship race for season 2015 will be underway shortly. And we thank Yamaha for their support in presenting the action with this class in 2015. And speaking of Yamaha, a reminder, you can get the ultimate in factory back protection with Yamaha Motor Insurance. There's the grid positions. Callum Spriggs starts on pole. He qualified with a 1:36.810. Another big field, quite typical of this class. There are 29 bikes on the grid to do battle in this one over a 10-lap journey. And, well, it's an extremely competitive class. We will get Steve Martin's thoughts on Supersport in just a moment as we roll the final riders over on the grid for you, with Horwood starting out at position 29. And earlier, Ian Salvestrin caught up with our pole sitter.
Callum Spriggs, the Queenslander, aboard the Yamaha. Mate, you took pole with a 1:36.8. The Yamaha's working well.
Yeah, it's definitely working good to get the pole, so to do a 36.8, I was pretty happy with that. So, yeah, Frank Pons has got my bike working pretty good, so, yeah, can't wait till the race. So, yeah, see if I can get on top for the race.
Yeah, there he is, Callum Spriggs, 21 years of age in June. Warm-up lap is complete. And we're set for a start now in the Superbike event underway. Callum Spriggs' right-hand side of screen began well on the Yamaha YZF, but has already been overtaken by Michael Blair, also Yamaha mounted, and Blair has managed to open up a couple of bike lengths lead as they approach the first couple of corners. Here they come.
Yeah, it's good to see Blair out front. Of course, I used to race with that guy's old man back in the day many years ago, so he comes from a racing family, and he's got a lot of good input into him, so it's good to see him at the front of this race, but it's a long, long way to go around this Phillip Island circuit.
Yeah, all riders negotiating the first part of the race safely, unlike what we saw in the opening leg of Superbike action. So race leader early stages, Michael Blair, Yamaha mounted, a lot of bikes behind him. Paul Young is very competitive early in this one, as is Mitchell Levy.
Yeah, it's good to see Paul Young out there too, having a bit of a comeback after he raced overseas in England for such a long, long time. Back here, and although he's 46, he's mixing it with these youngsters up the front. The 20-year-olds versus the 46-year-old.
As we see this action with Michael Blair and Callum Spriggs, can I ask you, we alluded to it earlier, the fact that the hotter it gets at Phillip Island, the less grip the riders attain, people would find that strange.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of most racetracks, but especially here at Phillip Island. The big enemy here is the heat, especially on the left-hand side of the tyre. Look how long this is, turn 11 and turn 12. You're on the left-hand side of the tyre for so long that the tyre gets so much heat into it, it starts to cook itself and overheat. That's the big, big thing about these tyres. So when you've got a hot track mixed with the corners here at Phillip Island and the temperature of the tyres, you lose that grip. Good overtaking move there.
Paul Young, outstanding, the 46-year-old, and he's out looking for a share of the race lead here. They got quite close there through the left-hander. That is gutsy stuff by the veteran. who can still get the job done.
Yeah, he might be a veteran, but he reminds me of another old Australian that's just retired recently, Kev Curtin. I mean, he really does stick it in there. He's not afraid, and he's very, very fast. Paul Young, smooth on the bike. He carries a lot of mid-corner speed, but very, very brave. A lot braver than me.
I thought you were going to say Steve Martin when you were referring to the recently retired veteran.
No, no, no.
Kane Burns, bike 30, the first Suzuki in this pack up front, running 5th at the present time.
Yep.
Action continues. Fascinating scrap here developing between Paul Young and the rider of bike 50, Callum Spriggs, on the Yamaha, right behind him.
Yeah, Callum's in a good position to be behind someone like Paul Young because, you know, there is a big age disparity, and there's probably a big disparity also in the amount of laps that they've done around circuits. So you can actually learn a lot by following someone like Paul with all his experience. So Callum Spriggs, although he was on pole, he's in third, started on pole, in third position at the moment. He's in a very, very good position to perhaps learn something. But Paul just looking a little bit squiggly out of their last turn at Phillip Island here. Tucked in behind the screen there.
Great shot, isn't it? The head on down Gardner Straight here at Phillip Island. Race leader Michael Blair, 21 years of age. He hails from Empire Bay on the New South Wales Central Coast. A carpenter by trade, and comes from a predominantly dirt track background, as applies to so many riders that are doing it in road racing now.
Yeah, he doesn't have too much time getting time off of work, though, does Michael Blair, because I think he works for his dad, who's also a carpenter. So I'm sure his dad would have given him some time off. But that team have got a lot of help from Yamaha as well. So he's Yamaha mounted here in the YRD team. But meanwhile, Callum Spriggs has got past Paul Young. A great move there, and back into second place.
Got a feeling that Paul Young won't take that lightly. He'll grit the teeth, snarl a little, and knuckle down to make up the lost ground. But I'll tell you something, what you can see here is Callum Spriggs is arguably the quickest bike on the circuit at the moment. He's about to apply all sorts of pressure to Michael Blair.
The thing with these races, though, is someone's wide there, but the thing with these races is that the first 2 or 3 or 4 laps you can actually use the grip of the tyre, because the tyres still have the grip of a new tyre. At about lap 5, that's when things start to move around, and then you get to see who's got the good setup on the tyre with less grip, and that's when we might see some gaps open up. So Paul Young sitting there at the moment, if I know him, he's a wily old dog. He's done a lot of races around here. He will perhaps have his bike set up to fare better towards the end of the race.
Let's see what Callum Spriggs could do here in the slipstream of our race leader. Michael Blair pulls to the inside, but Blair had enough to keep the lead, at least for the time being.
A little bit wide there for Blair into turn 1, obviously trying to hold Callum Spriggs off into turn 1 as they tip into 2. Bit of a gap back there now to Burns on the Suzuki.
Still holding his own, the 46-year-old Paul Young, the Kawasaki rider, in third position. So Callum Spriggs about to apply the blowtorch to the race leader, Michael Blair. I thought for a moment Spriggs were going to have a crack up the inside as they approached the right-hander. It didn't transpire that way.
It's good to see young Mitch Levy there in that group just in the background as well. He spent a year racing overseas last year, did a few races in the CBR Cup over in Europe. So I've watched him race at a few different circuits, so good to see him still back on track here in Australia.
Our second place rider, Callum Spriggs, the 2012 Queensland Supersport champion, hails from Caboolture in Queensland. That's Keith Urban country.
Well, you certainly got to know how to boogie if you're from up there, and he's doing a good job at the moment, is Spriggs. He looks like he's able to hold a little bit tighter line also than the man out front, Blair, which means that he's trying to find a way past at the moment. But once again, Paul Young is just sitting there at the moment, biding his time. He's not really dropping off the back of this pack. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens at the end of this straight, though, as Spriggs gets in the slipstream, although Blair got a good drive out of turn 12 that time down.
Yeah, he did. He got a wonderful run off turn 12, and on this occasion, you can see the benefit of that. Callum Spriggs not able to get in the draft to effect a serious assault. Have a look at Paul Young, will you? He's still having a massive crack in third and starts to close the gap slightly on Callum Spriggs. Of course, this Supersport category contesting the national championship such a great support class to the Superbike title as we take you back and have a look at a replay for Suzuki of the race start.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant start there for Blair. He got his head down straight into the lead, exactly where you want to be. A couple of guys wide there, but once again, Paul Young up there and Callum Spriggs from pole back to second. Look at Youngie.
That was that massive move up the inside. Early stages of the race. No lack of intestinal fortitude by Paul Young, who's got the Kawasaki. Going beautifully today.
Yeah, of course, supplied by Evan Bowles from South Australia, that machine that Paul Young is on as well. So not a big effort, but Youngie's certainly doing some big things on that ZX6.
Your thoughts on the Supersport class? Very, very competitive the world over.
It certainly is. I mean, it provides very, very close racing, and it also teaches these guys about mid-corner speed, because it's not like a Superbike where you can get the corner wrong and stand the bike up and use the 200 horsepower to squirt out. These bikes have a lot less power than that, probably about 120 horsepower. So every time you make a mistake, you lose touch to the guy in front. So riding these little 600s, for me at least, is very important in a rider's career, because it gives them the opportunity to learn about mid-corner speed, carrying the corner speed into the corners, and getting on the gas nice and early, and also preserving those tyres with all the extra mid-corner speed. Look at the movement there on the back of the number 68 machine through Casey Corner.
Yeah, Mitchell Levy, who now finds himself under pressure from Ryan Taylor. The latter, a Victorian, riding the Motor Obsession Yamaha YZF-R6, and closed up dramatically there behind Mitchell Levy, who's also Yamaha mounted. Of course, Fox Sports, your home of the 2015 Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship. You'll see all rounds exclusively here on Australia's sports leader. And we look forward to your company throughout the season. We'll also bring you action from Moto 3 in future rounds. Plenty of technical features, feature stories and profiles on riders. Comprehensive coverage of the 2015 championship across the country. Thanks to Motul and Pirelli, as well as Motorcycling Australia and Yamaha, where you can start enjoying your Yamaha sooner with Yamaha Motor Finance.
It's a big battle going on here at the moment, isn't there? Look at this group of guys trying to get through to the front. Who is going to break through? I don't know. Whoa!
One guy almost off the circuit, Thyron Van Vuren, the West Australian, on bike 21, got out in the loose stuff. You can see the dust there in the background.
Yeah, well, that is the wild, wild west, isn't it? Big move for him, of course, coming from Western Australia, and just tasting a little bit of eastern dirt there, but manages to hold it together, but drops to the back of that group. That's certainly not going to help his result in this race. You've got to keep it on the black stuff, mate.
Tasting a little bit of eastern dirt. I like it. Here's another look. He was lucky, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, but see how he held into it? He, on the Suzuki replay there, he hasn't backed off at all. He's got back on. He realises he's made a mistake, and now he's got to get on with it.
Yeah, he was angry with himself, understandably so. Did remarkably well, given the circumstances. Meantime, we focus our attention up front. Lap 7 of 10. It is Michael Blair, the New South Welshman, in control, heading for home.
Yeah, he hasn't set a foot wrong yet. He's managed to lead this race from the start. He's come under certain pressure at certain times, a little bit from Paul Young and also from Callum Spriggs behind him. But when I look at his bike with just a few laps remaining, he's not sliding, he's composed, he's smooth, he's got everything going for him to hold it to the line. But of course, that's not what Callum Spriggs is thinking, because that's the man that started this race in pole. He wants to win this race. He doesn't want to watch Blair ride away with it.
Yeah, Blair's qualifying effort, 1 minute 37.035. Spriggs on pole was a 1:36.810.
But that just goes to show you that with the brand new tyre, you can gain those extra tenths. But it's not about being faster on one lap. You've got to do the fastest average lap, and it looks to me that Blair's got his bike set up to do that today.
About 2.2 seconds separating the top 10 riders on the grid. Again, an adequate reflection of how competitive Supersport is, and it will become even more so at the ensuing rounds. Obviously, first weekend out for 2015. Ironing the bugs out in some respects, the teams, and they'll all go quicker.
I'll tell you what I just noticed. Paul Young has dropped off that leading bunch as well. He's lost at least 3 or 4 seconds. So he must have had some sort of off or made a mistake. So not been able to mix it, at least in this one, with the young boys.
This pack you're looking at now, headed by Ben Blythe, who rides the Snap-on Peter Stevens Motorcycles Yamaha, Bike 25, Victorian. And it's a raging battle further back in the pack. 96 is also running very strongly in this one.
Yeah, that's Luke Mitchell, of course, on the Maxima Racing machine on the YZF R6. And that's the battle for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th at the moment that we're looking at there, which just goes to show you how tight this field is all the way through the pack.
Down the hill, exciting part of this Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Good crowd in today for the opening round of the championship. Once again, we go back up front. And Michael Blair, whom you're looking at, starts to increase the lead. He's really got it all together, and barring unforeseen circumstances, he's going to be very hard to catch inside the distance. Lap 9 of 10.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is. And I mean, I take my hat off to him too, because he had a big injury at this meeting a year ago. So for him to come back, he missed a lot of last year, but he's come back. He's also going to be doing the Asian Championship as well this year. So Michael Blair setting his year off to a good start.
Now, I alluded to Blair's background earlier. Carpenter, or apprentice carpenter. Started dirt track racing in 2009. He stayed on the dirt for 3 seasons, placing in 5 Australian titles, and in the process also winning 3 New South Wales state championships. And you know, the dirt track background, it can be so advantageous for road racing. You get used to sliding the rear of the bike around.
Yeah, you certainly do. There's a lot of guys out there, and especially in our history, in our Australian motorcycle racing history, that have come through that path of the sliding around. And I'll tell you what, there'll be a lot of guys out there now that have got the back end sliding around, and when you're used to that on the dirt, it really does transfer onto the tarmac, especially here at a track like Phillip Island.
Yeah, rider that comes to mind when you talk about former dirt track that made it big time on the asphalt was, of course, Wayne Gardner, who really mastered the art of the rear wheel slide. And you know, the Americans too, Kenny Robertson and guys like that came from the dirt could do exactly the same.
And not only that, it teaches you very close racing, get your elbows out and have a go, and that's what they do. There's Ryan Taylor, round turn 12 again. Good, nice run for him. Of course, he did some wild card races and has done a lot of racing around this circuit.
Battle for 4th and 5th you're looking at. Mitchell Levy on 68, currently 4th on the racetrack. This is the final lap now of the opening Supersport race of 2015, presented by Yamaha on Fox Sports. Entertaining opening encounter. Must be said, however, Michael Blair has been dominant from about mid-race on. He's really cool, calm and collected in pursuit of the checkered flag.
Yeah, once the grip started to go down on these Supersport tyres, Michael's setup came into its own. And I mean, look at that, not even a slide, just leaves a little black line out of the corner there. Nothing to be worried about. That is what you want to feel when you're on a bike. That is what you want to see. He's composed, not a lot of pressure. He's done the work early on. A great ride by the young New South Welshman.
Callum Spriggs in 2nd. Paul Young has worked himself back into 3rd, the veteran. But Blair, after starting the race from position 2 as the 2nd top qualifier, has certainly shown great composure in this one and is heading for the checkered flag, and will hence start his season in the best possible fashion. Exiting turn 12 onto Gardner Straight, and the New South Welshman Michael Blair on the Yamaha takes the opening Supersport race of 2015. Callum Spriggs in 2nd. Here's Paul Young at the top of the screen on the Kawasaki, rounding out the top 3. And here's this battle for 4th and 5th, with Mitchell Levy prevailing only just over Ryan Taylor.
Gee, that was a close battle, wasn't it?
That was raging as the checkered flag unfolded. And the results on screen, Blair, 16 minutes 23.053 to complete the 10-lap distance. And you can see less than a second away was Callum Spriggs, then young Levy Taylor Blythe. And over the page it goes. Well, you'd have to be impressed with our race winner there.
Yeah, that was a brilliant ride from the start. Didn't start from pole. I mean, pole gives you that little bit of extra, you know, confidence, but he knew what he had to do. He got out there in front. He led the whole race. Pressure from different guys throughout the race, but that didn't bother him. He put his head down and rode very cleanly and got to see that checker flag first.
He rode with maturity far exceeding his years. Here's Ian.
Michael, you made a fantastic start, and from then they didn't see which way you went.
No, yeah, we got off to a good start and kind of put my head down. It's a bit hard with the heat, and the tyres are definitely a bit slippery, but yeah, just tried my best, and yeah, it paid off.
Well, that was my next question. The track temperature got up to 50 degrees at this early part of the day. How did the tyres handle?
Yeah, you can definitely feel it. You know, it is a bit skatey, and yeah, we definitely can't get down to the qualifying tyres, which is a bit frustrating. But yeah, I'm pushing as hard as I can, and yeah, happy with the win.
You're watching ASBK on Fox Sport.
You're watching the opening round of the 2015 Australian Superbike Championship from Phillip Island. Our coverage presented by Motorcycling Australia in association with Motul and Pirelli.
And we thank you for watching on Fox Sports around Australia. Welcome back to our coverage of the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship and the Supersport bikes on the track for race number 2. Callum Spriggs on pole, 136.810. Of course, Callum finishing second to Michael Blair in the opening Supersport race. Look forward to this with no little expectation. We saw enough close, exciting racing in race 1 to provide a sample of what is to be expected, I think, in 2015. Former World Endurance Champion Steve Martin beside me at commentary.
Yeah, really looking forward to this race, especially after yesterday. The boys have had a little bit of time to think about it. Track conditions have changed as well. We're morning now. We should see some faster lap times. They were in the mid-37s yesterday. Let's see what they can do this time out.
12-lap Superbike race still to come on today's program, as well as a number of features and technical stories. So here we are, ready for a start. Spriggs got away well, lifting the front wheel off the ground as the clutch was released. Here they come towards the first corner, and Michael Blair, continuing where he left off in race 1, surges up on the inside of Callum Spriggs, takes the race lead. Oh, Spriggs ran a little wide there, although he's well positioned for the left-hander, isn't he?
Yeah, Spriggs just tried to nip up the inside into the southern loop there, but couldn't do it. But he blew that start again. Blair got a perfect start, just straight off, no wheelie, but Spriggs once again launched the wheel in the air. When you do that, you're not going forwards. Paul Young in third place again. Great start by the veteran again.
Have a look at this. The boys are getting serious through the right-hander. Michael Blair, he packs them up. Callum Spriggs in second. Paul Young, the 46-year-old, runs in third position. Then a break back to Kane Burns on the Suzuki GSXR. He was competitive in the first outing this weekend too.
Yeah, it's good to see Kane up there. He was up there in the start of race 1, like you mentioned. I just wonder if they've made enough changes to his machine now to be able to maintain that pace to the end of the race. He's in a perfectly good spot at the moment in that leading group of 4.
Mitchell Levy is competitive, running 5th on bike number 68, the Yamaha. So Blair having a fantastic opening round to the 2015 championship. Our Supersport action on Fox Sports presented by Yamaha.
I'll tell you what I do like, and I liked it in race 1 too. When I look at Callum Spriggs, he does carry a lot of mid-corner speed. He really has got some great mid-corner speed. You could see that just coming out of the MG corner before. It's early in the race though. He's got a long way to go.
Oh, here's a big move on the inside by Kane Burns. He passes Paul Young. That was great stuff. He got a beautiful toe down the main straight. Might pick up second here. No, not quite. Spriggs maintains second place on the road. Oh, this is a great battle up front.
Yeah, Kane Burns has certainly found something there, hasn't he? He's right there, very aggressive. Nearly got 2 in 2 corners, did Kane Burns. But just see there, he lost out a little bit. He's got to find that bike length now.
Michael Blair, his bike's moving around a bit.
Youngie up the inside.
Yeah, not ideal there from the race leader. Put himself under some pressure.
You know what I do like about this class though? We've got a couple of Yamahas, a Kawasaki and a Suzuki in the top 3.
Another look at what transpired when the lights turned green at Phillip Island. Race 2 of the Supersports.
Yeah, once again, you could just see the wheel pop in the air, which allowed Blair to get through to the front. Nice, clean run into turn one. Spriggs tries to go around the outside, uses a lot of the track. And, of course, the Suzuki man is right up there too, and riding very, very aggressive. There he goes, past Paul Young on the 69 machine. I betcha he wasn't expecting that.
Gee, it looked good, didn't it? Burns was leaving nothing out there, if I can use that expression. It was all or nothing to affect that pass. The bike was moving around. I'll tell you what, it is no place for the faint at heart if you want to be good at this caper.
No, it's certainly not. And one thing about this race, and we talked about the experience of Paul Young, yes, in the race before.
As we see again, Burns move up to third this time.
Yeah, that experience is showing through. Now he's made some changes. He doesn't ride that Kawasaki that much. He's new to it, and he's right up there. He's moved up into second position now.
Tell you something, Steve. Callum Spriggs not happy, back to fourth. Just caught a shot of him shaking his head. Not pleased at all.
Yeah, we didn't see the moment that caused that, but it could have been a couple of things. It could have been one of the other riders pushing him wide, and that would normally make a rider aggressive, and he's making a move up the inside, is he? Not quite, but it looks like, yeah, he's certainly not happy with something there.
Expert commentary throughout 2015 from Steve Martin, who's been there and done it all. Former champion of the Australian Superbike class, former world endurance champion. A long and distinguished career internationally. You must have hated it when you lived in Switzerland.
I'll tell you what, I think I'd rather be sitting there than being out there with these boys, because they're not leaving any stone unturned. They're really on the limit, these young guys.
Fans getting their money's worth this weekend at Phillip Island. There's something very unique about this patch of real estate.
Blair, once again, is commanding this race, although when I look at Paul Young and his lines, Youngie's got some tighter entries. He's carrying a little bit more corner speed on the entry to the corner, but that Suzuki is fast. Once again, he's gone past the Kawasaki man.
Yeah, really fast.
I haven't seen that in a long time, but of course I'm pretty sure that bike is fettled by Phil Tainton as well, so if there was ever going to be a fast Suzuki, it's going to be that one.
Yeah, Phil Tainton knows what it's all about at the helm of the Suzuki factory team for a long time.
To be fair, Suzuki, it's quite a new model, that one as well, and I know a lot of guys don't race it, but it's very well improved, and in the European Superstock class, they've had some good results and some podiums, so it's definitely a good machine. Look at Youngie once again up the inside, defensive line into Honda there. Good run by him.
So Blair, the 21-year-old, continues to lead this one. Callum Spriggs has come back at them. The top four really starting to pack up as we approach the midway stage of this second Supersport race. There's no doubt, though, that Michael Blair, the man they've all got to catch, he just seems so composed this weekend. Young doing a mighty job, up to second.
Yeah, once again, that was the shot of him defensively trying to overtake into Honda corner. But here's where I noticed, look at the line that Youngie takes. Nice and tight early through turn 11, sets him up. He can set the bike up into 12, carries good speed through there. But the Suzuki man, once again, he's right on the back of him now.
Let's see what Young can do. Coming up the inside, as you can see, is Kane Burns. They're side by side across the start-finish line. And the Suzuki rider got the job done. He relegates the Kawasaki of Paul Young back to third, but Young comes back again at him. This is great stuff. And Young's back into second.
Yeah, that's...
Oh! Young puts it down. The front. Losing the front end of the bike, and he would be filthy.
He was pushing the front of that bike. We saw it earlier on. He was really, holding a tighter line and carrying a little bit more entry speed than some of the guys. When you do that for too long, that's what happens.
Another look for Suzuki on the replay.
Yep, just folded the front and down he went. Not much you can do about that. A complete passenger at this point, and Youngie just overstepped the boundary.
Yep, so unfortunately there's no way of sugarcoating it. It was rider error, and he's paid the price.
It certainly made the man out in front's job a lot easier, and also it's made Callum Spriggs' job a little bit easier, because Burns there in third now obviously got a little bit spooked, and that allowed Callum Spriggs to get through.
That's a real pity, the race losing one of its major contenders, but it was great to see Paul Young jump straight back to his feet. He'll be fine.
Yeah, a little slide like that doesn't hurt so much. I mean, I know that it looks, you know, vicious, but with the protection that these guys have on nowadays, nothing to worry about.
You're kidding.
Unless you're the guy paying for the bill.
You're kidding. Honestly, I got a migraine watching it. Across the line, Michael Blair continues to be the benchmark in Supersport this weekend. Lap 6 of 10. We take a look quickly at Mitchell Levy, running in the top 5.
Good to see Mitch there with a bit of clear air as well. He's riding well on that Yamaha, but he can't afford to slow down because look at that group behind him there. Once again, they had a battle in race 1 and they're all there doing it again this time round. So Mitch Levy with a little bit of breathing space over the boys behind him. Everybody trying to catch up to him.
Yeah, Levy hails from Dural in the northwest of Sydney. 21 years of age in July. So no shortage of young talent emerging through the ranks of Supersport. Began his road racing career back in 2009 and has been competitive this weekend.
Yeah, he certainly has. He had a bit of a rough trot overseas, like we said yesterday, where he competed in the European Junior Cup, which is a similar sort of class to this, where it's a one-mate class, and he had some good results, but ended up coming back to Australia early, and he finds himself racing in the Australian Superbike Championship in this Supersport class this year.
Conditions at Phillip Island, as good as it gets. It's an interesting venue in as much as it is possible that sometimes the weather at one end of the circuit is quite different to the other. And I'm not trying to hype it up, it's a fact.
Yeah, it has been like that for sure. Ryan Taylor has caught up a big amount in the last couple of laps though, hasn't he? Look at that, he's right there now. Levy had a big advantage, now Taylor's gone straight through.
Gee, they were close together and Levy has taken evasive action. Wow, they were separated by a millimetre, if that.
Yeah, he just did, well, Ryan's just gone up the inside and left Levy nowhere to go. Look at that, they've touched. And
so Levy couldn't turn it in.
He couldn't turn it in. He's been left with nowhere to go, and he's had to run off, and he ran into the dirt, so that could be the end of his race.
Meantime, the battle intensifying up front. Jeez. With Spriggs and Blair.
Yeah, Spriggs is caught right up too. Blair's not going to have this all his own way like he did in race 1.
That's a real pity with Levy running off the circuit there a moment ago, because he and Ryan Taylor, well, they had a fantastic scrap for 4th in the opening race, and we were in for more of the same there. But there's plenty to look forward to here with this battle you're watching at Phillip Island in the second Supersport race of the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't Callum love to win this one? Just remember that yesterday he got pole position and he didn't win the race though. Blair won. So once again he started from pole, but he's in second again. Shaking his head a little bit again out of Honda Corner as they go through Siberia.
Yeah, finding a few things to be unhappy about in this race. The 3rd place rider is Kane Burns on the Gardner Homes Moto National Suzuki GSXR. Burns qualifying with a 1:38.139. So he was about 1.5 seconds off the time recorded by the pole sitter, Callum Spriggs. Speaking of Spriggs, here he is. I thought he was going to snap up the inside of Michael Blair, but Blair had it covered.
There's that mid-corner speed again that Spriggs seems to have. 2 different riding styles between these two guys. Spriggs certainly carries more corner speed than over, whereas Blair likes to stand it up and get it out of the on the fat part of the tyre.
All right, well explained. Down the main straight, Gardner Straight, named after the former world champion that really was responsible for this circuit being reinvigorated.
Yeah, he's won a few races around here, hasn't he?
Yeah, a couple that mattered. There's no doubt, back in 89 and 90.
Spriggs is all over the back now of Blair. Blair's going to have to keep it nice and tight. Of course, these boys will have pit boards, and Blair will know that he's been chased down because he had about a 2-second lead earlier in the race, but that on his lap board would have been chopped back to +0. So it's all or nothing now. And Spriggs up the inside, but no, he can't outbrake him.
It looked promising for a moment Not far to go in this one now. An epic battle as Spriggs tries to draw level with the race leader, Michael Blair. Blair is just so calm. I know I said it a couple of times in race number 1, but he just looks unflappable despite the pressure he's under.
Yeah, well, he's already got that race win under his belt, but I'm sure he's feeling the pressure now, and especially with Callum Spriggs being so close coming up to the last lap. He really, now, Spriggs is in the perfect position because he can, you know, just see where he is stronger, because there are certain parts of the circuit where Spriggs is stronger. So this lap is the lap that Spriggs needs to think, right, I'm stronger here. Next time round, the last lap, this is where I'm going to attack. So Spriggs needs to start planning now because he's got 4.5 Ks to get the job done. Yeah,
it's now or never. As they exit turn 12, back onto Gardner Straight at Phillip Island. Michael Blair across the start-finish line. What has Callum Spriggs got for him? We now take a look at Kane Burns back in third. He's ridden splendidly, not just in this race, but for the entire weekend.
Yeah, good by Burnsy. Into turn 1, I can't believe how fast he is on that Suzuki.
He's doing a monumental job, really, as the battle continues to rage up front. You can see Spriggs, he's urging himself on. Well, the body language.
This is one of his chances now into Honda corner, but I don't think he's close enough. He's not going to do it here, and I don't think that he thinks he's strong enough to do it there because he's followed him. He hasn't gone up the inside to have a go. Mid-corner, he's got good drive out of here, perhaps into Siberia, which is the next left-hander coming up. No, he's not close enough there either.
So the Yamaha.
Oh, big moment there.
Massive moment. So the two Yamahas turning it on up front.
Yeah, that's the first time we've seen Blair's bike move all weekend. So he's really on the limit, although he looks smooth, and he's just opening up that gap a little bit from Spriggs.
It's one thing catching him, it's another thing passing him.
Well, in all reality, he's got one chance, and that is the slipstream out of turn 12 and over the line now. He's got to get closer. I don't think he's close enough. He needs to carry big mid-corner speed through this one and then slipstream him over the line. We've seen it done before. It is possible here.
Let's see. Onto the main straight. Final time. Michael Blair, he won race 1 and he wins race 2 in Supersport. Callum Spriggs gave it everything, but full credit to the rider of Machine 78. Meanwhile, Kane Burns has wrapped, clenching the left fist into light, finishing on the podium in race 2, and a good job aboard the Suzuki GSXR. Taylor was 4th on bike number 52. The Yamaha, then Van Buren, who had a good run in that one. And the top 10 rounded out by Coot, also aboard the Yamaha. So good to see various manufacturers represented in the top 10 in what was another highly entertaining Supersport affair, Steve.
Yeah, that's what I love about this class of racing. It doesn't matter what bike you bring to the table, whether it's a Kawasaki, a Yamaha, or a Honda, but the way the rules are set, you've got a chance of winning. It really just does come down to the rider.
We thank Yamaha, present sponsor for Supersport, naming right sponsor of the Australian Superbike Championship in 2015 through Yamaha Motor Finance, where you can start enjoying your Yamaha sooner with Yamaha Motor Finance.
Michael Blair, a sensational last lap. That's where you won the race.
Yeah, you know, I could still see they were close on the board. It was 0, so yeah, just had to pull my head down, had a few scary moments, but yeah, happy to come away with the win.
Well, you are the round winner. You must be excited going into the rest of the 2015 season.
Yeah, stoked, you know. After last year, such a hard start, so, you know, it's good to come back full fitness and, yeah, show them what we can do in the first round, so, yeah.
Just Callum Spriggs, 2nd in race 2 of the Australian Supersport Championship and 2nd overall for the weekend. Not the top step of the podium, but a great way to start the season.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good way to start the season. I obviously like to get the win at the first race of the year to get you to feel good, but yeah, got some good points and yeah, I'm pretty happy with how the weekend went, so just see what we can do at Morgan Park for the next round, so I'll be there, so looking forward to doing well there, so see what we can do.
Kane Burns, 3rd in the Australian Supersport Championship, opening round here at race 2 at Phillip Island. You must be delighted with that.
Yeah, first Australian Superbike Supersport podium, so I'm pretty stoked to come here. Like, I knew at the start of the season I had the pace this year to run at the front, but to do it at round 1's absolutely awesome.
Okay, a quick now of the progress points at the completion of round 1 here at Phillip Island. Michael Blair, obviously, a maximum of 50 points with his 2 wins. 10 points clear of Callum Spriggs, then Ryan Taylor. Thyron Van Vuren, the former South African, now residing in Western Australia, on 30 points. And, of course, over the page there, bad luck for Paul Young. He was really competitive prior to having, obviously, that accident in the race that we saw a little earlier on the program. So well done to all the Supersport competitors. They've started the season on a very positive note, and we do look forward with no little expectation into bringing you the action in Supersport at the remaining 4 rounds of the championship, as they play a pivotal role in supporting the Superbike Championship. So you have to be very impressed with the winner this weekend, Michael Blair. Didn't put a wheel wrong.
You're watching the opening round of the 2015 Australian Superbike Championship from Phillip Island. Our coverage presented by Motorcycling Australia in association with Motul and Pirelli.
And we thank you for your company on Fox Sports. David Tapp and Steve Martin with you at Phillip Island. Superbikes are next. Here's more on that with Ian Salvestrin.
The Australian Superbike Championship is the top of the tree as far as road racing goes in Australia. Technical Director of Motorcycling Australia, Peter Doyle, joins us to explain what actually is a road racing superbike. Peter, welcome, and please explain to us this magnificent machine in front of us right here.
Well, look, the superbike racing, it came about many years ago. It essentially is a modified street bike. And people were going away from the traditional Grand Prix bikes, so they started modifying street bikes and taking them to the racetrack, and that's where we end up with the superbike class now.
It is the top of the tree, as we mentioned, in terms of road racing in Australia, in the world, in fact. More than 300 k's an hour these production-based bikes will achieve, but they are quite different to their MotoGP cousins. Why is that?
Well, MotoGP is full prototype. So these things started in as a bike you can buy off the showroom, and then of course we have the modifications, suspension, rear shock, we have the front fork, obviously aftermarket bodywork, you can fit an exhaust pipe to it, a new engine control unit so you can do some tuning and mapping of the engine. There's some engine work involved with compression ratio and cam timing to help improve the performance. Then you sort of move into where the rider comforts are, foot pegs, handlebars, a quick shifter for improving your shifting on the racetrack, and of course racing tyres. So yeah, the bikes, they probably run 20 to 30% higher performance than the ones that come off the showroom floor. And yeah, quite often at this racetrack at Phillip Island, you'll see them hitting speeds of about 300 kilometres an hour.
Let's talk about the engines for a moment. What type of engines are they, and what sort of performance do they produce in terms of horsepower?
Well, you generally have your 4-cylinder 1000cc engines, and then you have the twin-cylinder machines, such as the EBR or the Ducati, where they're allowed to run up to 1300cc.
And the horsepower we're talking?
Generally, you're looking at around the 200 horsepower mark for most of the superbikes, which is it's getting up there nowadays.
Well, considering they weigh next to nothing, that is frighteningly fast performance.
Weight-wise, you're looking at the bikes being ready to race with no fuel at around 168 kilograms. So, yeah.
This is an EBR bike here. Any production bike is allowed to be modified and raced in the Australian Championship?
Correct. You have all the Japanese manufacturers, by some of the US manufacturers, and of course the European manufacturers with their typically their V-twins or their V4s or a more exotic style machine.
20-year-old Daniel Falzon is a rider on the way up. He won the Australian Supersport Championship in 2014 and 2013 and the National Superstock 600 Championship in 2012. 2015 represents a step up into the Superbike class, and he's relishing the prospect of a strong season.
Yeah, that's right. I'm really looking forward to racing in the Superbike category this year. It's Australia's premier category, and stepping up from being two-time Australian Supersport champion, it sets us up quite well for the big step up with our team. It's new for everyone, so we'll be taking this year as a bit of a development year, but nevertheless I'll still be putting my heart into every race.
Falzon, who hails from Adelaide, is one of the few riders excelling in road racing that doesn't come from a dirt track background.
It probably just took a little bit longer to get up to speed. I don't think it was much harder, just we didn't take it very seriously back then. I was racing as a 13-year-old, just having a bit of fun. And then as I hit 14 years old, we actually moved a bit further up the junior national leaderboard and managed to win my first Australian championship as a junior. So that's when we started taking things a little bit more seriously and looked at moving into 125 GP categories and possibly to 600 cc's a bit later. But as for never racing dirt bikes, I don't think it's hampered my ability to race as yet, but maybe just taking a little bit longer. We're up front now with the best of the dirt bike riders though.
Falzon says he acknowledges that the transition from Supersport to Superbike will be tough, but at this time he's not sure how difficult the challenge will be.
Well, it's a step I'm still learning at the moment. This is my first race in the Superbikes, as I said, so every lap I'm doing here it's a learning curve. I'm really enjoying it. The power is phenomenal. The speed, clocking over 300 kilometres an hour down Phillip Island straight. It's something you have to try to get your head around, but I really enjoy it. And the racing's very professional up here in this category. There's close action, but it's very clean. So I enjoy racing with factory riders.
Daniel has already experienced the ups and downs that such a grueling sport can provide. In 2013, Falzon had a ride teed up in the Moto2 World Championship class, only to receive a phone call informing him that his bike had been destroyed in Malaysia.
Yeah, it was a very disappointing night for sure. Everything was prepared. I was ready to race Moto2 recently after winning the Australian Supersport title. So I don't know, it is disappointing, but on the other end of the spectrum, I am very honoured that I was picked out of every rider in Australia to be representing this prestigious Moto2 race team. I knew we could have done a very good job. Unfortunately, things didn't go our way that weekend, and sometimes that's what happens in racing. Things don't go your way, you've got to look forward and keep on pursuing.
The South Australian will contest this year's Australian Superbike Championship aboard the JD Racing Caterpillar Yamaha YZF R1. And he says he's firmly focused on his debut season in the Premier class.
At the moment, I'm looking at just learning a superbike and really getting up to speed with the factory boys, even as a privateer. So I think in years to come, I'd love to see myself in a factory seat, whether that's with Yamaha or not. I'd love to race factory Yamaha, but any factory position is really where my eyes are set at the moment, and I'll do everything I can to get there.
Despite his determination to succeed in racing, Falzon is also committed academically, and he's currently a student at Flinders University.
I'm currently studying paramedic science, so it's a bit different to other races. I often get told it's quite ironic that I race motorbikes, risking my life every day, and then I go off and study how to save people's lives. So I'm always a firm believer of having a backup to racing. So racing is a dream for me, but I've got to be realistic and have a backup in case this dream doesn't come true.
Superbike's on the track now. Race 2 for the weekend. Of course, the first attempt to run the opening event of the 2015 season was punctuated by 2 serious crashes which led to the red flag and the rescheduling. You saw the results, and now it's comprehensive coverage of this race to be conducted over 12 laps. Of course, JB Stauff was scheduled to start on pole. That not the case due to the fact that he was injured in the opening event, as was the rider of bike 26, the Kawasaki's Sean Condon, who endured a nasty crash. So there'll be 2 bikes missing at the front of the grid in this instance, as we show you the starters from positions 11 through to 21.
Yeah, that's exactly what Troy Herfoss wants to see, though. He'll look to the left, he'll look to the right. He's going to have a clean run into turn 1. It's going to be difficult to beat that man off the line this time around.
Herfoss been around for a number of seasons, had a stellar career in dirt track. I'll tell you more of that as the race unfolds. Superbike presented by Yamaha Motor Insurance in our exclusive coverage on Fox Sports. Josh Hook, of course, winning the rescheduled race 1. aboard bike number 16. That's him on the right-hand side of screen, waiting for the lights to go. And we do now. Troy Herfoss up front on bike number 17. The Honda CBR finds himself with clear air from the outset. Here's Hook, though, up on the inside, making a challenge early.
Yeah, good run by Hook there. He's got himself up from the second row of the grid, right in behind his teammate. Lyndon McGee there as well on the BMW HP4. Goes up the inside of Hook, in fact. So brilliant start by Lyndon McGee there, and puts himself in second place.
Of course, Lyndon, the nephew of former Grand Prix rider Kevin McGee.
Fastness runs in that family then, doesn't it?
Fastness does run in the family. And of course his nickname, what else? It's Magoo. That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yep, heard that before. Oh, somebody out of the seat there, but all contained. Everybody will be thinking of yesterday's race, of course, and let's hope that they can get through the opening laps in one piece. There's Daniel Falzon, of course, making his debut weekend on the Superbike, of course, coming from the 600, so big learning weekend for him as he sits back there in 5th position at the moment.
Yes, Falzon, as we just saw highlighted in that feature story, a couple of times the victor of the National Championship in Supersport. Up front, though, it's Troy Herfoss, born in Goulburn in southern New South Wales back in 1987.
Yeah, he's a pretty handy rider, is Troy Herfoss, not only on the tarmac, but he used to race in Supermoto in America and then tossed it all away when he was winning races to come and race road bikes. And that didn't work out for him for a little while, but he's back here now and he's on a good team and obviously leading this race.
Yes, his debut in Australia in road racing was 09, if memory serves me correctly. He finished 5th in the Australian Supersport Championship riding a Suzuki. He won the National Supersport title, also Suzuki mounted in 2010. Had some time out of the sport too, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, he did. I mean, basically, he couldn't get a ride. I mean, he was having to pay money to actually ride the bikes. And I mean, he's just a normal guy. He doesn't have that sort of money. So until he got a decent ride, he couldn't. But Lyndon McGee there is doing a great job, just holding off the number 46, of course.
46, yeah, running strongly, Mick Jones.
Yeah, and of course Mick, another guy that tried to race in the 600 Superstock overseas. So there's a lot of talent in this field right now. Mick, of course, fairly new to the 1000, had a fair bit of time on it, but not as much as he had in the 600. So Mike Jones, another guy learning lap by lap.
So Lyndon McGee on the BMW is 3rd. Your thoughts on the BMW Superbike package?
It's a great machine, it really is. I mean, the HP4 is one of the most technologically advanced bikes out there from the factory. And let's remember that these bikes, although they're super bikes, as we heard Peter Doyle say before, they're still quite standard. I mean, this year in this class, our job has been to bring the bikes more back to a standard base setting.
All right, so another look at the start, and really, it was all Herfoss who blasted away from the front row, but Hook quickly got himself into second from the second row. The big mover early, as described by Steve Martin, was, of course, Lyndon McGee.
Yeah, look at this. Up the inside goes Lyndon, holds a nice tight line. Of course, there's a double apex in that southern loop, and he made the most advantage of that.
Reminder, second round of the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship to be contested at Morgan Park Raceway in Queensland, April 10 to 12. Get yourself trackside if you can. If you can't, you'll see coverage here on Fox Sports.
Once again, I think the organisers have got the rules set right. We've got a couple of Hondas, a BMW and a Kawasaki in that leading bunch.
We see Josh Hook on 16 running in second, regularly puts his right foot down off the peg as he's heading into the right-hander. Just to give himself more balance?
Well, it does. I mean, it does give you a little bit more balance. It changes the weight. If you think of your foot as a big pendulum of weight, when the bike starts to move around, the younger guys tend to put their leg out to support themselves.
He does it more than most. He just did it entering this left-hander.
Well, he is younger than most. I mean, the older guys don't tend to do it, but you see it a lot in MotoGP and World Superbike, but really you see it when the boys are on the absolute minimum maximum braking forces, not a lot left. They move that foot around, it just gives them a little bit of extra stability in the braking zone.
So it is advantageous?
it's, let's just say it's a new style. It's a style that's started to come in over the last couple of years. Like if you think to many years gone by, guys used to sit in the seat and not scrape their knee. Now they're getting their bum off the seats and scraping their knee. This is the latest innovation, and you know, scraping elbows is the next one.
Great move, Michael Jones on 46, the Kawasaki. Up into third position now.
Yeah.
Great job.
Yeah, good move there by Mick, but he's wide, and we know how fast Lyndon McGee is through the middle of that corner because he did it on lap 1. Well, he's doing it again.
That's great. So Lyndon McGee letting everyone know he is no pushover in the 2015 Superbike National Championship. Big thanks to Motorcycling Australia, the sport's peak body. Look at that, a classic example of what I was just saying. Hook was dragging his right boot on the asphalt.
Yeah, once again, he's full brakes, the front end's bottomed out. Rear comes light, takes his foot off to help straighten things out. There's no real proven time difference between that setting, but once again, Mike Jones into turn 1, just a nice, it looks easy in slow motion, but I can tell you what, it is very, very difficult when you hit in there at 300 kilometres an hour.
I don't think it looks easy.
Well, in slow motion, it looks a lot easier than when you're actually doing it, trust me.
Okay, I'll take your word for it every day of the week.
Troy Herfoss is looking very smooth, and Hookie a little bit wide there as they head into 11, but Herfoss is in the box seat to take this one out. He's looking very smooth, and he's been just that little bit quicker than Hookie all weekend, although Hookie did win that race yesterday, so it's going to be interesting to see if Hookie can get the double here this weekend.
Back onto Wayne Gardner straight. Herfoss in advance of his teammate Josh Hook. Hook got a pretty decent run out of turn 12 there. I reckon he picked a couple of bike lengths up the run down Gardner straight, and he's a little bit closer this time too as they embark on the remainder of this lap. Back in third, it is still Lyndon McGee on the BMW in advance of the Kawasaki of Michael Jones. They're having a great battle all of their own for third and fourth.
Yeah, I really like the way that Lyndon's got that BMW steering. It's steering beautifully. A great job by him there in the setup of that bike. He's really fast through that first sector. And Mike Jones really good on the acceleration and good on the brakes into turn 1 is Mike Jones too. So those two boys definitely having a good battle and trying to work out the strengths and weaknesses of each rider.
32 bikes starting this second Superbike race. Grid numbers are very healthy, which augurs well for a fantastic championship. Daniel Falzon, there he is, the youngster from South Australia, the current Supersport national champion, and he starts to make a little ground on the riders ahead of him too.
Yeah, Falzon doing a fantastic job when you consider that this is his first ever race meeting on a Superbike. So to be that close to guys like Herfoss and Josh Hook, who is racing in Japan. This is a one-off ride for Hookie, I might add, because he's moving over to the Japanese championship. And that is what this championship is all about. It's about getting these young guys, giving them the opportunity to show what they can do and get picked up by teams overseas. So Hookie off to race in Japan for the FCC team this year. We'll see him in the Suzuka 8-hour for sure. McGee again. Oh, sorry, that's
Jones.
Jones.
Yeah, Michael Jones on 46. There was nothing between them.
But there you go, McGee up the inside again.
Oh, don't you love this?
Oh.
And Jones responds with a pass of his own.
Yeah.
Oh, this is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant at Phillip Island. And as you can see, Hook has closed the gap on the race leader, Troy Herfoss. So Hook, whose confidence is running sky high after winning the opening race, the 22-year-old from Taree, northern part of New South Wales, as Stephen has told you, heading to Japan to contest their domestic championship. Another look at this on the Suzuki replay.
Yep, just up the inside, Jones once again, nice and clean. Doesn't push Lyndon McGee out to the edge of the trap. It was a very clean move, but he runs a little bit wide. McGee harder on the throttle and got him back in the middle of turn 1, but then he ran wide.
Talking of Hook, in 2012 he had a massive season. He rode for Team Honda Australia in the Australian Supersport 600 category, finishing second. And he also competed in the Petronas Asia Dream Cup throughout Asia, where he finished third. That's exhaustive stuff.
Yeah, I mean, talking to team owner Paul Free about this young kid, he says, and he's been the team owner of the Honda Australia Racing for a long time now. He says that he hasn't seen a kid like Josh Hook in a long, long time coming out of Australia. So let's keep our fingers crossed that he is going to be the big name that we're watching in MotoGP in the future.
Here he is, Hook, and he's taken the lead from Troy Herfoss. Great pass got excellent drive out of turn 12. That's where he set it up and was in the tow, pulled out of the slipstream, made the pass cleanly. But Herfoss, you can bet your life he won't take that lying down.
No, Herfoss under pressure now. Of course, Hook, a little bit of movement out of Southern Loop there. Tips into the fast Casey corner, but Herfoss will not want to let the young 16-year-old number 16 machine get away.
Michael Jones in third. The Kawasaki's been able to shake Lyndon McGee off. Oh, there's an accident at the back.
That's Falzon.
Daniel Falzon has dropped the JD Racing Caterpillar Yamaha. What a pity.
You know what, though? It's still a good weekend for him. He's crashed, but first weekend out in the Superbike, to be that close to those guys, I take my hat off to him. Good job.
We saw on the Suzuki replay there, Hook and Herfoss in full flight. It is Hook still maintaining the race lead. It is lap 7 of 12. And word from the scene is Daniel Falzon is A-OK. Ego a little battered and bruised, but I agree with you. He can hold his head high. Been an excellent debut weekend in the Superbike class for him.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it won't be long and we'll see him up racing with guys like these two guys out front. So a lot learnt this weekend for him, and probably going into Honda Corner, he won't make that mistake again.
Have a look at this. Herfoss will have a go now. But Hook just a little superior in the rundown Gardner Straight.
Yeah, and of course that can be put down to the size difference between the two guys as well. Josh Hook is actually quite small, so he's very aerodynamic. And Herfoss is actually a little bit bigger. He can muscle the bike better, but the top speed, just due to the aerodynamics and weight difference alone, and you can see the difference there. See how the guy in front can tuck in compared to Herfoss's shoulders. So aerodynamics come into play there.
Great piece of analytical commentary, can I say? I'd like to be a little more aerodynamic.
Me too.
Yes, but you're kidding. Zero body fat, you. Can't be said of me.
Whoa.
Hook.
That's wide.
Hook maintaining the lead, but only just.
Yeah, he's maintaining it, but that is exactly what Herfoss wants to see. He wants to see the boy out in front starting to make a couple of mistakes, because when you can see the guy in front making a couple of mistakes and you're not, you know that you've got a little bit extra in the pocket to use in those last couple of laps, and that is what we're coming up to now. We've got a third race distance left, and look at the amount of sliding that Hookie's doing now, and Herfoss is right there looking a little bit more controlled.
We are in for a thrilling finish in this one. Second Superbike race of the weekend, and this is developing into a war between Herfoss and obviously Josh Hook, the current race leader. Off turn 12, they accelerate back down Gardner Straight. Let's see if Herfoss can do anything about it this time. I doubt it. Hook seems to have him covered.
Yeah, he certainly does. Once again, I think that Herfoss is going to have to try and find a different spot to that to do it. I'll tell you what, though, I hope they didn't share the hire car on the way in this morning, because they might not be talking on the way home the way this race is developing.
Michael Jones still runs in third aboard the Australian Outdoor Living Cube Racing Team Kawasaki.
Once again then, look at the body language of Hook. He's really starting to try and stand that machine up. He's not carrying as much lean angle on the exits of some of these hard drive corners now.
So the Team Honda Racing entries dominating this event. Josh Hook on 16, couple of bike lengths lead at this juncture of the race.
Mike Jones just there in the background, good result for him too. Be great to see him on the podium. I'm sure he'd be pretty happy with that as he gets used to that ZX10.
The great thing about what we're seeing in this championship in 2015, and I've used the term already in our broadcast today, the young emerging talent. I mean, we look there at Jones aboard bike 46. He's only 19.
Yeah.
So it does go to show how healthy motorcycling ranks are in this country.
Well, it certainly does. And I mean, if you can win a race here or get on the podium here, you've earned it. It's not a gift, because there's a lot of talent, not only in this class but also in the 600s, as we saw earlier.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So across the start-finish line again, the lap starting to wind down. Herfoss will be wondering what he's got to do. He's giving it everything.
Yes, it's a difficult one for him. Certainly out of turn 12 and into turn 1, I don't think he can do it. But look at the mid-corner speed and how tight he can turn here. He can carry. He's still got a little bit more edge grip, so I think he needs to use that edge grip to his advantage at some other point on the track. If he's smart, he'll be eyeing it up to find out where he is stronger. than Hookie out in front.
It is a great battle, and I can tell you something. The third place bike of Michael Jones is reeling them in. He's the quickest bike on the circuit at the present time. The third place rider, he's still got plenty of work to do, mind you, with just a couple remaining. But he's not losing touch with them, that is for sure. Of course, whilst they're battling and scrapping, they do slow each other down slightly.
Well, they certainly do, and especially when you do carry that little bit of extra pace compared to your competitors, the faster you go, the more you wear those tyres out. And of course, these guys are on the absolute limit. They're pushing each other, and they're not taking it too easy on those Pirelli Corsa slicks.
Gee, Herfoss is good this part of the circuit, isn't he? This is where he makes up his ground.
He does. He's very, very smooth compared to Hookie. Hookie's got the back end of his bike moving around a lot more and probably a lot more weight on the nose of the bike.
What Jones needs in third spot is for a lap bike or two to hamper the progress of the leading two to give him some chance. Have a look now. Herfoss closer this time. Out of the slipstream. Can he do anything about the lead that Hook has got? Giving it everything, but Hook maintains the status quo up front.
Yeah, see, that was a test that time round for Herfoss. What he did then was he said, right, I'm going to give it everything I've got into out of 12 to see if I can pass him by the line. But look at that, he's gone up the inside there.
Hook makes a rare mistake and Herfoss seizes the moment. So change of lead. This will be interesting.
Yeah.
What has Hook got for him in response?
Well, now we're going to see what Herfoss has got, because Herfoss has been the man in the background looking for the way past. Now he needs to open the taps, because the last thing that he wants is this to come down to the line. He wants to try and get 1 or 2 bike lengths in the next lap. So he will have his head down and be giving it absolutely everything now.
Not far to go. Superbike action from Phillip Island, presented by Yamaha. Here's the Suzuki replay.
Yep, just holds that tidal line in through Southern Loop, and Hook didn't see him coming.
Really enjoyed this race. Jones still in third. He's concentrating on putting consistent lap times together, and he has caught them up slightly, but he's no chance of getting on equal terms with them as they run back down Gardner Straight. This time, let's see what Hook has got as he pulls out of the slipstream. Herfoss in front. They're separated by barely millimetres as they went across the start-finish line, but Herfoss maintains the lead. There's the third place Michael Jones on screen.
Yeah, there's only going to be one way that Michael Jones wins this race, and that is if these two boys get a little bit shaky. And I don't think that's going to happen because they're teammates and they're good, clean racers. But I don't think we're going to see too much held back on this last lap.
I reckon you're right.
But Herfoss is in the box seat. He's gone through there faster than laps gone by. He's certainly not looking after that rear tyre. I think I saw smoke coming off of that. There's a back marker in the way now. He needs to get out of the way.
Yeah, this is the lap bike scenario that I was referring to a couple of minutes ago. Gee, they can play a pivotal role in the outcome of a race without meaning to necessarily.
They do get the blue flags waved at them, which is why they're moving out the way, and it looks like we've got a clean road now for these two boys to show what they can do. And Hookie right there in the background now, hanging on the back. He knows where he's strong. He's strong out of turn 12. I'll be surprised to see him try before then.
Final stages of the race. It's been an epic encounter. Hope you've enjoyed it on Fox Sports. Troy Herfoss, the race leader. Joshua Hook behind him.
This is where Hookie's strong. Look at this. He's right in the slipstream, carries a mid-corner speed now. He's got more weight on the front. He's got to get in that slipstream. This is his last chance.
On the main straight, checkered flag is poised. Oh, wow! Hook had a massive crack. Herfoss has won it. I'll tell you something, Hook was almost wearing the paint of the sign writing on the main straight.
That is as close as you ever want to get to that wall, I can tell you now.
Scary. We'll have another look at that in a moment, but well done to Troy Herfoss. I don't think he's ever had to work harder for a race win.
No, he certainly did. He held it, he got tucked in and he moved to the left, and unfortunately for Hook, he went to the left too. Probably should have gone to the right and he would have had a straight run and perhaps got him, but he might have had to back out of that. I'll be looking forward to see what he's got to say about that result. But good result for Honda overall.
You don't get many finishes closer than that.
No.
Nothing between them as they blasted across the finish line.
Yeah, it was definitely a good result for the two boys, and it could have gone either way. There's McGee as well. He had a good ride. Look at this. Here we go. Out of turn 12. Hookie in the slipstream moves to the left, but so does Herfoss out in front. Doesn't leave him anywhere to go. Gets on the marbles. Still doesn't back off. Look at that. Just heads the wrong way. He heads the wrong way. If it had to the right, he could have won that race and got the double.
There's the freeze frame. Check it out. That's a wheel nut separating first and second.
Yeah, that is a close finish. You don't get much closer than that.
Great racing in the Superbikes at Phillip Island.
Troy Herfoss, winner of the opening round of the 2015 Australian Superbike Championship. What a last lap, what a last run down the straight.
Yeah, it was amazing. My first win here on a Superbike, and yeah, it was a close one. Hookie made me really work for it, and being in the afternoon here, the track was quite greasy, and our times were a lot slower, and we hadn't ridden maybe in these conditions for a race yet, and we had to fight all the way. None of us could lead the race, and it just so happened that I got the last few laps in front and controlled as good as I can, and yeah, Hookie had one last lunge at the line, but you know, what better way to finish off a weekend? Honda won too. Just a massive downer that our teammate Jamie's in hospital, so best wishes to him, and I'm sure he would have been up front battling with us guys.
Josh Hook, a first and a second to open the 2015 Australian Superbike Championship, a magic weekend at the island.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was a good way to start the year. We've had tough conditions here this weekend, and that heat in the second race really slowed the pace down a lot. The tyres really weren't up to it, and you know, it was definitely a tough one. But congrats to Troy. He rode well all weekend. I was sort of chasing him all weekend, and I was just happy to be there in the end. So, you know, massive thanks to Team Honda Racing for bringing me on board for this weekend, and yeah, I'm looking forward to what the year's got to bring.
Mike Jones, third place on the podium under very trying conditions, not only the heat, but your broken wrist as well.
Yeah, you know, it was a fantastic race. I'm really happy with how it went. You know, like you said, it was very hot conditions there, and I certainly struggled towards the end. I was overcompensating with the rest of my body not to put inputs into the right handlebar, using my right hand as least as possible as I could. So, you know, I think I managed to position myself well towards the end of the race and have a bit of a gap over the other guys behind me, and you know, I just tried my best the whole race, but it was very tough. I had a good battle there with Lyndon. You know, I had to get past Daniel there off the start. He was ahead of me off the second row there, so you know, I'm really happy with how I started and how I finished, so overall very good.
Okay, well done. Just recapping the way the points score looks at the completion of this weekend's opening round at Phillip Island. Herfoss and Josh Hook equal on 45 with a win and a second each. Michael Jones on 36, 2 points clear of the very competitive Lyndon McGee, and he rode splendidly. Over the page, you can see the remainder of the riders. Phil Love at the veteran there in 16th position on 11 points. But of course, there is a very long way to go in the 2015 championship, presented to you by Yamaha Motor Finance. And Steve Martin, an action-packed start to the Superbike title for this year.
Oh yeah, I mean, what a weekend the boys have had down at Phillip Island, and what a way to start the championship. I mean, nobody saw Stauffer crashing out like that. I think everybody thought that he was going to be a major contender, but he didn't. Sean Condon, another guy that I thought would do well, he also fell by the wayside. We wish those boys the best and hope that we see them next time out.
Well said. The Junior Championship also supporting the racing here this weekend in the two-stroke. Jack Mahaffey, the Victorian, emerging victorious at the completion of the round. Dallas Skier, the South Australian, in second, and Scott Nicholson on 54. There's also the four-stroke bikes where Dylan Whiteside, the Victorian, had a splendid weekend, amassing 75 points in this, the opening round, in advance of Ben Bramich.
Winner once again of the junior class, Jack Mahaffey. Jack, it was hard, hot work out there.
Yeah, it was really hot out there, sweating in my skins, my Condi skins, but yeah, still had fun, and holding plenty of lines, and I like to say I smashed my record 3 times in a row, and got down to a 58 flat, which I'm really happy about, but yeah.
Not only that, but you're doing 170 k's an hour on the main straight here at Phillip Island. That's some story to take back to your friends at school on Monday.
Yeah, it definitely is a fast straight down there, but yeah, as fast as I've ever been on a motorbike, and I take it down to my schoolmates and I'll be wrapped.
We are here with the winner of the junior 4-stroke category, Dylan Whiteside. Dylan, 6th place overall and winner of your category. You must be delighted with that ride.
Yeah, pretty delighted with my ride.
on CBR 150. Held on pretty well. It was a bit hot, the track conditions. Yeah, bike was slipping a little bit, but then, yeah, held on.
Yeah, some of the kids there that did a great job in the juniors, and now the Moto3 Championship, which, as I mentioned earlier, we will be showing you race coverage of in future episodes of our ASBK coverage. Ollie Simpson, 75 points. Matt Barton, 15 points behind him. The Moto3 Championship, Steve, very quickly, it's crucial.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. This is the starting point for these boys.
And Ian Salvestrin caught up with the winner.
Yeah, it was a bit of confusion at the start there, and just my bike got a bit hot, so I just had to go at the start a bit quicker and cool it down for the first lap. So yeah, after that it was clean sailing, and yeah, enjoyed every bit of the race.
It is starting to warm up here at Phillip Island. How did you feel the heat?
It's not too bad when you're going around because you got the nice wind from the fast Phillip Island circuit, but yeah, when you stop you really feel it. Yeah, it is really hot out there.
Well, do hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the Australian Superbike Championship for Yamaha Motor Finance. A reminder, the second round coming up at Morgan Park in Queensland, April 10 to 12. That will be an absolute beauty, and you'll see highlights of all the action right here on Fox Sports. For further information, visit ma.org.au or keep in touch with the social media contacts shown on your screen. Well, there's the top three in the second Superbike race. Steve Martin, been an absolute pleasure to have you on board as expert commentator, and look forward to working with you for the remainder of the season.
Oh, look, I've really enjoyed the racing here at Phillip Island this weekend. It's been amazing. It's good to see the young talent coming through. I'm looking forward to going to Morgan Park.
Yeah, thanks for watching, and we will catch you with our coverage of the second round from Morgan Park.